Hi everyone, Canoopsy here, and this is the Nubia Z20. You may never have heard of this phone or this brand, but they've done something very interesting here. Because this is a phone with two displays, one on the front and one on the back. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the rest of this phone real quick. So the phone costs $550 USD and offers a lot for that price. The design is glass on glass with metal rails, and those metal sides actually have pressure sensitivity, so you can squeeze the phone for different actions like screenshots, reachability, stuff like that. It's all customizable, and it's all pretty damn useful. It's also, of course, really a gorgeous phone, and it's also all display. You have a 6.4-inch 1080p OLED display up front, and it is pretty awesome. Except that some UI elements are not exactly cropped for the rounded corners, but we'll let that slide. And inside the phone, it's an absolute beast with top-of-the-line specifications. Snapdragon 855 Plus, 8GB of RAM, 128GB of storage. This thing is definitely a tank. Now, this is not an official full review as I haven't used this phone for a super long period of time, but performance, as you'd expect with those specifications, is insanely good. Everything you do here is fast. Opening apps, closing apps, multitasking, gaming, whatever on this phone, it handles it all very well. Now, at times I have had some freezing and crashing just randomly happen when actually using this phone, and it is definitely pretty annoying, but it's not really a deal breaker. The phone is still totally usable, pretty much bug-free. And the actual software on this phone is also pretty clean. It's close to stock, no gross skins or super weird UI elements. It's kind of refreshing just how clean this phone actually is for software. And the phone also has a 4000 mAh battery inside that should easily get you through a full day of usage, and from my testing, it does definitely last a full day, no problem. So that is the Z20 in the simplest, most basic terms. It is a beautiful, but pretty much standard 2019 flagship phone at a really good price. But we gotta talk about that display. So the rear display is a 720p 5.2-inch panel, and it does look pretty decent, not the absolute best display I've ever seen, but that's beyond the point. So why would Nubia do this? Why would they put a whole second display on the back of a phone? Well, for two main reasons. The first reason is actually to get rid of the selfie camera on the front. That's how they got that full display, all-screen look here at the very front of the phone. There's no pop-up camera, no notch. The selfie camera is non-existent, using the rear camera for all your front-facing selfie pictures. The second reason is hype. People would not even look at this phone twice if it wasn't for that second display. The phone is definitely a great deal, and it is really a great phone that is absolutely beautiful, but the second display is the phone's main feature point. There's even two fingerprint scanners on each side of this phone, so it makes logging into the device easy depending on which display you're actually looking at. So like I said, there is no front-facing selfie camera, but instead the second display works as your viewfinder, and you actually use the rear cameras for your selfies. A main 48 megapixel camera, 16 megapixel wide camera, and an 8 megapixel telephoto camera. Although no telephoto selfies. Sorry. And those selfies do look pretty good. They are incredibly crisp and detailed, and the wide-angle camera is 122 degrees, so you have an insane field of view for your pictures. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, your selfies are going to turn out great on this phone, but also the regular photos on this device are also pretty solid too. They're not perfect, but they're great in most conditions. Not on the level of an iPhone or a Pixel, but they do take pretty great shots. You can also have the rear display turned on while taking pictures so people can actually see what they look like in the shot and better frame the shot as well. It is pretty cool. There's also 4K video recording, which is pretty decent, and 8K, that's right, 8K video recordings, although they don't look that good and the frame rate is pretty weak. It is in beta though, and probably beta forever, but it is kind of interesting to actually have 8K shooting on a smartphone. So when I look at this phone and when I actually use this phone, this is a super over-engineered device for the sake of design and aesthetics. Nubia put an entire display on the back of this phone just to have no selfie camera on the front, and besides the cool factor and great selfie camera quality, there is no other reason why this phone should have a second display. There's absolutely no justification. Now, I don't hate the Nubia Z20. It really is an amazing phone at an amazing overall price, but it's just absolutely fascinating to actually see the lengths that manufacturers will go through just to stand out and have this perfect overall design. It's wild. So I want to hear your thoughts on the Nubia Z20. Is it worth actually having a second display on a phone? Is it a gimmick or is it actually a useful feature? What do you think of the state of smartphones in general? We're actually getting phones now with dual displays just for the sake of design. Tell me in the comments down below, and thank you for watching.